beautiful bakers. Today we are making one of my favorite foods of all time, quiche. It is so easy to make. We're even going to make our own pastry. We're going to start out with that. It's a buttermilk pastry. Here in my bowl I have some just all-purpose flour. Into this I'm going to add in some salt, give that a little mixy mix, and then add in our cold cubed butter. Now you can do this with a pastry blender or you can do it with your lava. I'm going to go in with my hands and just rub in that butter into the flour until it resembles coarse breadcrumbs. So let me tell you the magic that is buttermilk pie crust. You know, you can use any kind of like a regular pie crust that doesn't have sugar because this is a savory quiche, but buttermilk pie crust, I paired it with this because it's a little bit salty, but also putting an acid like a yogurt or sour cream or buttermilk into pastry tenderizes the flour and makes it not only like crumbly and buttery, but it also adds extra fat. So it makes it just like even more like delicious, a little bit more salty, fattier, just yummy, yummy, yummy. I absolutely adore it. I use this buttermilk pie crust for pasties, for hand pies, and you can use it for sweet, no problem. It'll still be absolutely lovely. See that? I have some big lumps, I have small lumps. I don't want to make our dough greasy by keeping my hands in there too long. So I'm going to stop. And here is my buttermilk, just a little bit of buttermilk to bring it together. Now, if you find it hard to find buttermilk in your country, I do have a very simple recipe on my website, and all it is milk and some lemon juice or some vinegar. Just gonna put my hands in there and combine this dough. When you're mixing your pastry, if you feel like it needs a tad bit more buttermilk, just add a splash in there just to bring it together. Be careful not to add too much. Okay, lovely. Our dough is together in one ball. This is what we want. I'm just going to give it a quick knead on my countertop just to make it into a smooth disc, just like that. Now you see here in my dough, I have some lumps of butter, which is lovely. That's what we want. That's going to make for a flaky pie crust. Lovely, jubbly. I literally made that in no time at all. Now, that's it. Pop it into the fridge for around 30 minutes. Also, FYI, you can freeze this. I freeze pastry all the time and it freezes beautifully. So my pie crust has chilled and rested and relaxed. I'm just going to roll it out now to fit my quiche dish, flan dish, whatever you like. You're looking for something around 9 inches. On a floured surface, just roll out your pastry into around a 10-inch round to make sure it fits nice into your deep dish. This pastry is beautiful to work with and really easy to roll. Okie dokie, this is looking good. Have I shown you my easy way to move pastry? This is it. Roll it over your rolling pin, bring in your dish, lift it a little bit. Where am I? Lifting it too high. There we go. And then beep, beep, boop, 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 boop. Ta-da! When you're picking your 9-inch dish for your quiche, make sure that it's around 1.5 inches deep or so, because you want it to be lovely and deep so you get a lot of filling. I can't stand quiches that are a tiny bit of egg and a whole pile of pastry. I'm just gonna go around and trim the edges a small bit just to tidy them and get them kind of uniform, like so. Now, I like to crimp the edges and tidy it up a little bit. So just, any crimp that you're comfortable with. Do this little between the fingers, boopity boop, something simple. If you want to get fancy, you can. If you don't want to do a crimp, that's cool too. Okay, so this is looking good. Now here's what I'm going to do. Take a bit of egg wash and just egg wash the crust around the rim to make sure it goes lovely and golden brown in the oven and it doesn't kind of look dry. Okie dokie, fantastic. So if you ever had or made quiche before, you can notice that the pastry gets soggy. That's quite common. Here's a way to avoid it. We're going to blind bake our pie crust first, and that shouldn't happen then. So here's what we're going to do. We are going to dock our pie crust with a fork or a knife. Forks are kind of handy. Docking means that it's going to let air escape when it's baking, so it won't bubble up and you won't have air bubbles. Then we're going to take a round piece of parchment. We are going to line our quiche. Then we're going to take what we call in the baking world, baking beans. I have old rice here that is kind of gone past its sell by date. So fill up your pastry shell with those. You can also use old lentils, old dried beans. Sugar also works really well. And that is going to be the weight that holds down our pastry when it's baking, so it doesn't rise up, also it doesn't shrink. Okay, lovely. My oven is preheated, so let's get it baking. So you want to blind bake your crust at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 180 degrees Celsius for around 20 minutes. Then we're going to go in, remove the beads and the parchment and let it bake by itself for around another 5 minutes or until the pastry doesn't look wet anymore. Our pastry is done and it's cooling down. So let's move on to our custard. Into our large bowl, we're going to crack in some eggs. Please use good quality eggs if you can. It really does make a difference to the overall quiche. With those lovely, see those lovely orange kind of jammy yolks? Oh, yummy, 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 yummy. It's my absolute favorite. Into our eggs, we are going to add in some milk. Please use full fat milk because the more fat, the more flavor. And that's what we want in our quiche. You don't see this in every quiche recipe, but it is definitely probably the thing that makes this quiche just so yummy and rich. Full fat cream. A decent amount of cream in there. Sometimes you'll see a little bit. I like a lot because you don't eat quiche every day and I just love it so much. So I really love to just, you know, if you're going to do it right. Into this, we're going to add in some salt. That salt will really help to bring out the flavor of the vegetables and the meat and the cheese and all that stuff. And then some cracked black pepper. In you go. And then just give that a whisk until it's combined. That's it. Lovely. Could not be simpler. We have our custard. I'm going to grab our pie shell and then I'm going to get the bowls of our mix-ins so we can start to assemble this lovely quiche. Okay, so here's the beauty of my quiche recipe. It's kind of a choose your own adventure. Customize it any way that you like. So as you can see here, I have different types of meat, I have different cheeses, and I have different vegetables. You can do whatever your family likes. That's totally up to you. And you're going to add in a cup of whatever meat, a cup of whatever cheese you choose, and a cup of whatever vegetable you choose. That's why I've got this guy right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this a team effort. So Vito, what meat would you like in the quiche?
Can I have sausage and a bacon, please?
Sure. So some sausage, and then I'll just top up the rest of the cup with bacon. So a cup of meat. Lovely. I'm going to choose the cheese because I think that's very important. I have red cheddar and I have Emmental. I'm going to choose Emmental because it's fancy and delicious. So a cup of that in there, a cup of cheese. You can do feta, you can do blue cheese, whatever you like. Okay, Joey, you get to choose vegetables. What would you like?
How about a little bit of everything?
Okay, a little bit of everything. So I'm going to do some peppers in my cup. I'm going to do some spinach, and I'll top it off with a little bit of mushroom because I kind of think you're not the biggest mushroom fan, so I'll just do a little. And then straight into our custard. And you know what? Just to do a little bit of extraness, I'm going to add in a bit of chopped parsley in there too, just cause. And then simply just whisk those ingredients together. Beautiful. Here is our pre-baked pie shell. Pour in your filling. As you can see, it's a lot. Like I said, I want a really thick, yummy quiche with loads of mix-ins, loads of flavor. And there we go, that's it. So I have my oven preheated. Let's get that in there and have it ready for lunchtime. So bake your quiche at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, 180 degrees Celsius for roughly 45 minutes to an hour. Depends on how thick your quiche is. What we're looking for is to be set around the edges, but still a jiggle in the middle. Our quiche is done and it looks and smells amazing. Look how beautiful it is on top with all the color and then that lovely golden brown baked crust. And also the pastry looks really crispy. Quiche to me is comfort food and it just reminds me of Ireland when you'd go out for lunch and have a big slice of quiche and salad. I just absolutely love it and still to this day one of my favorite things. For me, there is nothing better than making a shareable dish like a quiche that is also customizable. In my house, this is a family favorite that I will always make. Quiche is a guaranteed crowd pleaser and I hope it becomes a family favorite in your house also. One of the reasons I love quiche so much is because it's so savory. You know, you have salty meat in there, you've got like cheese, and then your vegetables. There's just something about it that screams like lunch or dinner time. And this pastry, let me tell you something, there's no soggy bottom here. Blind baking is the way to go to give you a beautiful crisp crust on the outside and then a custardy filling. It's absolutely delicious. If this quiche has you in the mood for some savory baking, then get comfortable because I've got lots more videos for you to check out. I will see you back here again next week for more bigger, bolder baking.